Kira was only 13 when she first encountered something sinister in her family's old home in the Dominican Republic. What began as an innocent knock on the door quickly spiraled into a series of horrifying events, leaving Kira and her family grappling with the unsettling presence that seemed to mimic their loved ones. Little did they know, this encounter would haunt them for years to come. Hello, I'm Erudite, and welcome to Moonskull. If you're looking for tales of horror, the paranormal, sci-fi, and the unexplained, then you are in the right place. I'll tell you 4,000 wonderful fear addicts, as well as the 30% of the closet horror buffs who still have not subscribed, the story I just mentioned about Kira. But first, let me show you how you could show us your support. If you enjoy our spine-tingling tales and want to keep the nightmares coming, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. You can also support us by using the donation link on the screen, which can be found in the description of the video. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow across the old, weathered house where Kira and her family had spent countless summers. The walls were adorned with peeling paint, and the creaking floors whispered secrets of the past. Kira and her brothers Carlos and Diego and their parents had always shared this place, but as Kira grew older, she began to sense an unsettling presence lingering within its confines. It was a humid summer evening when Kira first experienced the phenomenon she would later describe as the mimic. She had been lounging in the living room, enjoying the familiar sounds of her family bustling about. Then, she heard a gentle knock on the kitchen door, a sound that broke the evening's calm. Curious, Kira stood up and walked towards the kitchen. It must be one of the boys, she thought. But as she approached, she noticed something unsettling. She could see shadows moving just outside the door, but when she passed through the window, her older brother Carlos was nowhere in sight. Instead, she caught a glimpse of someone standing just out of view. She reassured herself, thinking maybe it was nothing, shaking off the feeling of dread that settled in her stomach. But then, she heard the knock again, a bit louder this time, and the shadows seemed to flicker just outside the corner of her eyes. With a hesitant hand, she reached for the doorknob, but the moment she touched it, the knocking stopped. Fighting her fear, she decided to ignore it. Kira retreated to the living room and tried to shake off the feeling, but she was just about to sit back down when her grandmother's voice called from the kitchen. "Kira, is that you?" Confusion washed over her. "Grandma?" Kira called back, but when she turned to look, the kitchen was empty. She hesitated, wondering if she had imagined it, but deep down, something felt very wrong. As the days passed, Kira learned that this phenomenon wasn't an isolated incident. Her mother recalled a chilling experience while cooking dinner late one night. She said that she was just minding her own business when she looked up to see her father standing there staring at her. As she recounted the story, her voice was trembling slightly, like it was something that really bothered her. Kira was eager for details, so she asked, "What happened?" Her mother replied, "I asked him if he was okay, but he just smiled and turned off the light before leaving the room. When I followed him, he was fast asleep upstairs." This story made the hairs on her arms stand on end. The details began to piece together like a horrifying puzzle, and Kira's heart raced as she recalled her brother's stories too. Carlos and Diego had a ritual. When one of them felt scared at night, they would tap a special knock on the wall, a secret signal of comfort. But one night, after hearing their younger nephew crying across the hall, they had called out to him, only to realize he wasn't even there. Their mother had taken him home hours before, leaving them alone in the house. "I swear I heard him crying," Carlos insisted, his eyes wide-eyed and his skin pale. Later that night, he remembered that harrowing encounter and gave his usual comforting knock on the wall for his brother. And, of course, his brother returned the knock in kind, letting him know that he was there and giving him that calm sense of assurance. But the next morning, he found out his brother didn't even sleep in his own room. He had gotten scared that night and went and slept in the bedroom with his parents. So that left him to wonder, who was knocking back? And then the story took an even darker turn. One evening, Kira was alone in the house when she heard that same distinct knock at the kitchen door. This time, the shadows loomed larger. Panic surged through her and she decided to call for her mother, but when she opened her bedroom door, her mother was nowhere to be found. As Kira stood frozen, she noticed a shadow dart across the living room wall. "What's happening?" she whispered to herself. Summoning every ounce of courage, she rushed to the window. Just as she peered out, she caught sight of two small figures lurking in the darkness. She blinked, and then they were gone. Her heart pounded in her chest as she stumbled back, the memories of her family's encounters flooding her mind. This was not just her imagination, this was something real and sinister. To this day, Kira and her family are left with unanswered questions. What haunted their old home? What were those shadowy figures, and why did they mimic the voices of their loved ones? The house has remained empty, and the tales of their haunting experiences linger like a dark cloud over them, a chilling reminder of the nights they faced the unknown. And there you have it, folks, a haunting tale of a seemingly innocent family home that contains something a little bit more nefarious. What do you think? Do you think this is just the overactive imagination of young children, or do you think there might have been something more sinister lurking in their home? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you want more of this wild, paranormal, real-time madness, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe, because we've got plenty more where this came from. I'm Erudai, and until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, sometimes the scariest things are the ones we can't explain.